So in a lot of tech house, you get these kind of cool alarm, droney kind of sounds. So I set about trying to make one in silent. I'll play it to you with everything again, and then I'll solo it, and we'll go through how I made it. So you can hear it's this one here in the background. I think the aim is not to really have like a note. It's just something that's creating that kind of ravey atmosphere in the background. So I'm going to take all the effects off, and then I'm just going to walk you through how I made it. Love Silent, one of my favorite synths for making pretty much anything. So easy, so quick to use. So the first thing I did was I put two oscillators together, same octave, but I detuned one down and detuned one up. I also used the detune feature in each separate oscillator to really ensure that it didn't have a note, so it's so detuned that if you play it alongside anything, it doesn't really matter what note you play, because we're going for that kind of alarm sound, no tuning there. No specific tuning anyway. The two voices enabled me to make it more stereo as well. Really useful. And I went quite heavy on the effects, so we'll come to that in a second. And then I did add a tiny bit of a noise waveform, which I just gave it a bit more fizz. Now, I did try a modulation envelope, but that didn't really work. I was trying to work something with the filter. The filter's not super closed. It's actually quite open due to this filter control here. A bit of resonance to kind of thin it out. But the main thing that's kind of giving it that wavy movement, I'm not sure if you noticed, but that wavy movement actually gets faster towards the end of it. Have a listen. Now, that's because of this pitch LFO. So I've got, again, something modulating the pitch. Before we had the detune here, and then, we've got this fine tune here and fine tune there. And then this one's actually moving the pitch up and down. But the reason why it's getting kind of quicker and more obvious is because I signed a modulation envelope to slowly increase the rate and the gain of LFO1. So you can see I've got a slow attack, high decay, high sustain, high release, and this modulation envelope is affecting the LFO1 rate and LFO1 gain positively. So they start here, but they eventually open a little bit more and a little bit more. And actually, if you were to hold it down, I'll show you right now. Let me just play a bit higher. Okay. You'll see it just gets faster and faster and faster. So kind of similar to a riser, but you could use it as a riser as well if you wanted to. In fact, if you use the pitch bend, just like that, you could make another effect out of it. But quite a cool thing to have in the background. Now, I went pretty heavy on the effects. I used a little bit of compression, a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay, and those were just to push it into the background a bit. So it's not a sound that I want in the foreground. Again, it's an atmospheric sound. Bit of EQ, bit of chorus to widen it even further. I should probably check that in mono just to make sure it's not too wide, and some distortion just to give it that kind of crunchiness, that lo-fi feel. And then on the actual channel strip, I use the pedal board, which is my favorite thing in Logic for effects, for being creative. You got to get into this, guys. Absolutely fantastic. So I'll play you. This is without, and then with. Just gives it that added grit. I'll tell you what, I'll make it more obvious. Got a Roswell ringer. This, you put it on anything and the sound basically becomes unidentifiable. This kind of pushes, it's kind of panning, and it gives it, again, a bit of distortion. It gives it this kind of wooden feel. So just a little bit of those. I got the Pro Q2. I found there's some kind of nasty frequencies coming through here. So I just took those out, and all of a sudden the alarm was definitely sitting a lot better. The echo, just to kind of give it a bit more tail, so it tails off a bit nicer. So it has a little bit of rhythm as it comes out, which works really well with the rest of the track. And then on the UAD EMT250, now this is a reverb unit by UAD. One of the effects that I use quite a lot on it is this SPC, which I'm guessing stands for special. It's kind of like a space echo, like it's huge. Basically, it does something to the sound that is kind of quite undescribable, but it pushes things so far into the background that you get this amazing sense of depth. I'm just going to turn it on and off. I'm going to play it without first, and then with. You can kind of hear it ringing in the background. It lasts for a really long time too. So love this. There's other versions of this. Valhalla do a great kind of spacey effect. And Lexicon have got some quite cool things. And Eventide, I think they've got a plugin called Black Hole. And then just to finish it off, a little bit of sidechain, just a tiny bit, just to help it pump with the rest of the track. Okay, so have a listen. And I think you'll agree with me that adds a lot with regards to the atmosphere, with regards to that kind of raviness, that epicness, but without taking away from what's meant to be in the foreground, i.e. the drums and the bass and the chords and so on. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you in the next video.
Remember, at Sample Tools by CR2, we also offer a mix and mastering service. Just head over to www.sampletoolsbycr2.com, click on the Mastering tab, and you'll find our range of services there.